All right, folks, I think we're going to go ahead and get started. For most of us who, I think most of us know who I am. I'm Drew Peterson. I am the former mayor, and I am the rabble-rouser of this whole town. I'm the guy that just makes life miserable for the town, let me tell you. I don't like to do it, but it's just where it ends up. So we're going to tonight, one of the major parts of tonight is the recall. People have been asking a lot about the recall. When is it going to start? What needs to happen? And that's where Scott's going to be coming in, and we have a presentation to kind of go through that. And I can certainly talk to that deck if you need me to. But a couple things. We have another process that I didn't realize how easy it is to do. It used to not be easy, but they've changed the law. In the threshold of signatures for what's called an initiative is only 5% of the total votes for mayor in the last election. So we're talking about 100 people. This room almost would cover that. And what we would use, you can't cancel contracts, you can't do any of that. Any of the administrative stuff that cannot be done through an initiative, but you can certainly limit what the government can do with initiatives. So one of the things we could do, for example, is you could decide through initiative that on a periodic basis, every 3 years, whatever, that there's a forensic audit. Now there is an annual audit, but the annual audit is a joke. The town, back in 2017, our budget was absolutely a mess. And John Damsel can remember those times, I believe. I think you were on the board at that time. John Damsel, who was running for trustee for the open seat in the room here, he was on the board at that time. And we had to fire the treasurer. And we did a forensic audit. And yet we passed the annual audit. So that tells you a little bit about how good it's not worth the paper it's written on, in my opinion. But so forensic audit, you could do that. You could have say every 3 years, we're going to do a forensic audit. And it has to be done by, blah, blah, whatever. That can be done. We could limit what they can do at Central Park. One of the things that they think that they're getting away with is that they want to, they know they can't sell the land at Central Park without voter approval. But they think they found a workaround. They'll just long-term lease that property. So lease it for 100 years. Well, guess what? That's where initiatives come in. We could change the law that says in Firestone, you cannot lease property more than 5 years without voter approval. That can be we could adopt that. So that's just something to think about. There are ways that we could do it through initiative going forward. On Friday, the court came down with their decision on the water case, or the case of Firestone has a preliminary injunction against Central Weld, claiming that Central Weld had threatened to turn off our water. The court adamantly, in their own words, the court said this, the findings of the court, that Central Weld never threatened to turn off our water. What they did was what you would do if you were leasing a property you were a landlord, leasing a property, and they haven't paid their lease. You have to go and put a notice on their door, and it says, hey, pay or quit. These are what can happen if you don't pay. That's what they did. That's all that Central Weld did. Central Weld had no intention of turning off our water and leaving us high and dry, literally. So, but the court case came down. They lost miserably. The town got a really bad beat down by the judge. And it's 14 pages here, and I'm not going to go through all that in great detail, but she used things like crying wolf, the boy who cried wolf. She referenced that phrase in her. She made multiple times. She talked about said very clearly that there was never an intent by Central Weld to turn off water. She made that clear. She mentioned that a number of places in her rulings here. So they didn't win on a single point. Not one point, not one argument of theirs, because usually you have half a dozen or a dozen, not one. Zero. They didn't win on a single one. Basically what the judge said, this problem is of your making. If you'd have paid the bill, they wouldn't have had a situation where you were worried about them turning off the water. It's right in the contract. They're following the contract. So so coming to the court, your solution is a lot easier. Just pay the bill. And then the court recognized that the town, what they're being charged and everything that was agreed to in 2009 is in effect. So there's no argument that, oh no, they're overcharging us. Nope, the court's decided that's not the case. So what's their argument now? They have a lot of plan A's, but not a lot of plan B's. And that goes for what's happening with St. Vrain Water District, Sanitation District. That's their plan A, but they don't have a plan B. What happens if the court says, no, you don't get that land? What are they going to do? What's their plan? What's the alternative? They don't have one. So that's where we're at with it. And when I saw this, I've been trying to stay outside of the recall. I'm not going to be a leader of the recall. I think that I have to, because of my history, I think it would be best if I'm not the face of the recall. But do I support it? I do now, for sure. I think we need to go forward. And so I think that's kind of a key thing. Before we get to the recall discussion, Bobby, is there anything that you wanted to talk about?
There's not much going on really with the last 2 months. They've canceled the. I got to get unwound from my cord. The last 2 months they've canceled the St. Vrain Water Authority meeting. I don't know why. They are. I did get some documents where IPT, which is a oil well, they specialize in wells that get rid of the brine from the oil wells. And the current deep injection well is 10,000 feet deep. And I'm not sure, I know it's at least 8 inches. I think it might be 10. But it's cased down to 8,000 feet. And in the bottom 2,000 feet is open to rock that's supposed to be really permeable to rock, to water going in. Well, they're having trouble with the calcium deposits on the wells, and they've had acid washes, overpressured. So now they're getting ready in the process of planning to drill a second deep injection well, which is really expensive. I don't know how far that's going to go. The Gould well field will not supply enough water to run at 1.5 million gallons a day. They did just in July, they raised their daily output from 65,000 gallons a day to 75,000 gallons a day, which is a solid 5% of capacity. And they've been running this plant since June of 2023. And I might add, without a certificate of occupancy, no final inspection. The last temporary certificate of occupancy was in November, December of 2023. If it were you or me or any other business trying to run a plant like any plant without a certificate of occupancy, they would come in and shut us down. I don't know why all their stuff was settled back in. The last one they had was the radio booster. That was December 11th. That passed the fire department in that. And there was a couple of minor things that were supposed to be done on January 15th, and then they were going to call for a certificate of occupancy, a final inspection. As of this date, they haven't, because I Cora that every couple of months. I'll Cora trying to get a certificate of occupancy. They still haven't. They're trying to get the well field at St. Vrain Sanitation District. All these St. Vrains start confusing me. St. Vrain Sanitation District, so they have more capacity for water. They're also exploring a well area around on the north side of the river, somewhere around Barefoot Lakes. I'm not sure exactly where, just on the other side of the river. But none of that's so far. They haven't started drilling any wells yet. So the St. Vrain water authority in that plant for the foreseeable future is not going to, and it can't supply all our water. It might supply Vistosa, Denmore, and some of the others that are getting ready to, that may be going to build. Of course, I don't know about that. They said that we'd have 285 new homes in Denmore by the end of this year. They haven't even dug a basement yet. So for the rest of us, number one, they can't get the water to us except St. Vrain Ranch and in that area. And number two, it just won't supply it. So that's really in the water. It's, I don't believe that our current mayor, town board, and town manager is going to be able to get us out of this stuff and get it straightened out. I believe we have to get rid of them.
They are so invested in AJ's plan. I put quotes around that because I'm not sure he really has a plan. But that they literally are completely, tone deaf to anything anybody else points out to them, the logic of it. I mean, everything has been saying on Nextdoor about what's going on in Central Weld is right here in this document, findings of a judge. So now they can't say, oh, Drew doesn't know, or that's a half-truth. No, it's right here in this document. And I'll make sure we get it up. I just have a hard copy of it. I drove all the way to Greeley to go get this. So it's a hard copy. I don't have it loaded yet, but I'll get it loaded for everybody to see.
Drew, is it online?
It's not online.
Is it online? Meaning through the county?
I could not find it. I bet you it is. I couldn't find it. And the result of that was me driving to Greeley. I did have a conversation with...
And Drew, this is Chris Campman. Just for transparency purposes, I am your current district manager for the St. Vrain Sanitation District. So I was incognito. I had a hat on. I didn't want to interrupt. I apologize. But everything that we can say publicly is on our website. Outside of that, that's my only public service hat. I want to go back to being a resident. But if you do have any questions about the district, I'd be happy to have a signed convo with you about the district. But ultimately...
yeah, go ahead.
No, I just wanted to make sure that if you guys needed anything that we've said publicly, I can affirm or deny what's on our website. But beyond that, I wouldn't be able to confirm.
And thank you for being here. I was hoping somebody would show up, and I can understand not wanting to speak on behalf of the district. It's especially when you have legal stuff going on, you got to be very careful. So thank you.
While being here, I think one of the water issues is the reason I'm here, right? The water side of this issue is a challenging issue that we all have to pay attention to.
With that, we're going to talk about the recall, and that's where Scott comes in. Scott, I do have a PowerPoint here. So we're going to talk about the recall. I put together a quick deck. Actually, I've taken credit for what ChatGPT did. Purpose of the recall is, of course, a democratic process. It'll be, rather than waiting till the next election, there's times when it urgently is needed to remove people from a position before their term is up. It's not something you want to do lightly. It should be done. We should let people run their course on their terms, but there are times like this. We got a serious problem here. We've been notified that our contract is canceled as of August of 2028 for water. And that's all of our water. That's not the plant, that's not St. Vrain Water Authority, not St. Vrain Sanitation, but Water Authority. That's not that, that's the new people. We, the people that are here now, we got our water from Central Weld. And they let us know that they have no intention of working with the current board or the current leadership of this town. So that's a pretty good reason to have to do something a little drastic. But they've also are being very tone deaf. Yes?
Will they work with a new board? Are they open to working with others in the community?
Yes, that is absolutely the case. They would be happy to continue to provide services to Firestone along the lines of it has done for the last 49 years. They would be happy to do that. The problem is that they spend a lot of money in legal fees and just jumping through hoops because of the latest whatever AJ thinks that they're the devil. They're doing all these things wrong. Of course, again, point to a document here that says they're not doing anything wrong. The town is the problem. That's basically what the judge says in this thing, and I will put it up there and you can read it and know it for yourself. So you don't have to take Drew's word for it here. It is important for you to do it. I don't want you to take my word for it. Matter of fact, please don't take my word for something. I tell you what I tell you is based on my understanding and my opinion, but I do encourage and I really want you to understand and draw your own conclusions as to what's the right thing to do going forward, because that's really what it's about. It's not about Drew's idea or Bobby's or Scott's or anybody. It's about what the community wants, what we think is the best thing. So please make sure that this is, you go about this and you follow what you think is the right thing to do. And by the way, tell us. Don't be afraid to voice that. If we're going down, if we're saying things that you're agreeing to with the facts that you're being given here, but you're not agreeing with necessarily the plans, that please go ahead and raise your hand. Tell us your idea.
I'd like to add a comment there. This town board, and judging from their history, they lost this court thing. They will probably appeal it. They lost the first time with the St. Vrain Sanitation, appealed it all the way to the Colorado State Supreme Court, lost, and turned around, and now they're trying to sue him again with eminent domain. So there's no end to it. He just keeps suing. And that's their, yeah, it cost us a lot of money. Water attorneys alone in 2024 was in the realm of $600,000. One firm.
So I do remember now, when I lost my train of thought there, it was about the fact that if the plant can't provide the water to these two developments that are going in right now, what do you think the developers are going to do? What's their recourse? Sue the town. Well, we're the town. So another reason why you really need to think about, is this really the direction you want to go? Is there a way we can solve this problem in a way that would, I think that honestly, if we work well with Central Weld, even if the plant, it's going to take, let's say, a year, 2 years, to get the current plant to a point where it can support what it needs to support, I'd be willing to bet you that if we negotiate with Central Weld, they probably could carry those properties while we're doing that. I can't say that for fact. That's just Drew's, based on my interactions with them. I have, a relationship with them. I was a mayor. I have a relationship with these folks. They do want to do what's best for the town. They really do. They're not there. There's no adversary here. The adversary is our own town management. So basically, the way a petition process works, first thing you have to do is notify them that you want to do a recall and who you want to recall. That's been done. The next thing you do is you have to submit a draft of the petitions that you're going to use to recall these people. And that's where it's been very cagey and very difficult to work with. Our town clerk is a wonderful person, by the way, a very well-intentioned and a capable town clerk. But she reports to AJ. So it makes it kind of difficult for her because he's telling her to do stuff. Now, I have no idea whether he's specifically telling her to do what, but the process has become very arduous. One of the things that was happening where they were not telling us what the deficiency was. So we submit the petition draft, and then we get it denied, but not tell us why it was denied. Well, how do we know there's anything wrong with it if you don't tell us what's wrong with it? How are we supposed to correct it? We have to guess, So that's then the process. The attorney, I made some waves, and the attorney responded to me saying, she doesn't have to tell you what's deficient. Well, being that I would rather go with the opinion of the Secretary of State before I go with the town attorney. And the Secretary of State says, you have to tell the people what's deficient so it can be corrected. So after that, when she approves it, she then tells us how many signatures we need for each officer. It'll be different for the mayor than the trustees. Because the mayor, there were two parties, and so you add up that, and it's 25% of the total of all the voters for both candidates for mayor. Then for the trustees, there were 3 open seats and 6 candidates, I think. So the number might not be equal to what was, there's people will vote for mayor but not for trustee and vice versa. So they'll tell us, but it's somewhere in the neighborhood of about 550 minimum. We'd like to, of course, and that's where Scott comes in, we'd like to be a whole lot higher than that. We also, you get 60 days to collect the signatures. Now that's fine, except there's also another deadline. You can't recall somebody within 6 months of the end of their term. So in order to recall them, we have to get this done faster than 60 days. If we can do it in 2 weeks, that'd be great. If we can do it in 30 days, that'd be fine too. But that's the date. So 60 days is not the date for us. It's the faster we can get it done, the faster we can get this process in and get going. And then once, yes, John?
Drew, is that because the next municipal election is in April? Because we haven't voted on extending it. So is that why we've got that April timeframe at this point, since the election in November of this year
Yes.
hasn't happened?
Yes, so
So that's why we're up.
this is a very good point. People may not be aware, most of the people in here are, but that they have an intention on the ballot to change our municipal election from April to November, move it out to the end of the year, November. That would mean that everybody that's on the board, including those not up for re-election, would get an extra 7 months on the board. Well, our point here is we want them off as soon as possible. So, but because April is when the next election is, that's got to be 6 months from that. So we're pretty darn close to it. Then after we get they certify, yes.
For the town clerk, how long does she have to get us an approval, or do we not get an approval?
We submitted it again. I believe that we have corrected all, because I did get an answer as to what was deficient. And it was a legitimate reason for a deficiency, because you have there's 3 pages to the petition. The first page, of course, tells who and and why are you there's some detail there in the first page. Second page are the signatures. Third page is the affidavit that whoever received or collected all the signatures has to sign that when they turn it in. What was not on there was there's a warning that says, hey, you got to be elected if you're a registered voter, da 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 da. That has to be on every page. Then who is the petition recalling? That has to be on every page. And you can understand that if you got a signature page and it doesn't have who and on there, that's deficient. So it was a logical reason. So not trying to say that it wasn't, but they did finally tell us that. That's been corrected and returned in. So tomorrow she has to tell us if it's sufficient or not. I expect we'll get a yes on this one. After that, we start the process. It's on us now. We go out and get our signatures. And then we turn them back in. She has 2 weeks to verify all the signatures, make sure that we have a sufficient number of registered voters in Firestone that sign the petition. Once that's done, it goes to the board, and they have to now schedule the election by law. And there is some wiggle room on when that election can happen. So that's another factor that needs to be factored in. The worst case scenario, there are 2 board members that are not up for reelection. Unfortunately, they're the newest board members. But they're also AJ, cronies. They've just bought right into his. That's Lorna Morton and Ray Bird. So we can recall them. No, that's not a problem. We may not get to the deadline in time to recall the rest of them. The good news is they're all up for re-election or term limited as of April. So, but if we can get those two, we will have, assuming John is elected, and I want to make sure that's clear, I am 100% behind John Dansma for trustee. If we get him on the board, along with Matt Holcomb, and 2 new trustees, that's 4 people, that's the majority of the board. And they can do whatever they want. They can fire AJ, they can do all of that without anybody else changing. So it doesn't matter what the mayor thinks, doesn't matter what the mayor pro tem thinks, doesn't matter. They have the power to take action. So, so that's that. Now, what's happening next is we're going to talk about the recall now. That's why he's standing up here. Since we don't have the actual petitions in our hands to hand to people and say, okay, here's how you go about doing it, we probably ought to have another meeting later this week where we get in a room and we hand out the petitions and we answer all questions, how to do it, the proper things you need to do. One of the things that's very important is making sure that you witness every signature and you don't leave the petition out unattended by you. Keep it with you. And don't disassemble it. Add to it, don't disassemble it. So if you need more signature pages, you just get another petition, print out, get another petition and just start adding. That would just be a lot easier because they're going to look for every little, that's what happened the last time we had to sue them. We were going to win that lawsuit. But we were getting so close to the election that it was not even worth even having the recall at that point. So I rather just Drew decided, along with some other folks that were in that, just to settle and recover the cost, pay our attorney, and use that whatever little money left on campaigning on behalf of candidates. So that's what we did. But we were 100% in the right, but they were playing games. And our poor clerk at that time, different lady, she was in a very bad place. That's the thing. They don't have a problem hanging people out to dry. They will let other people take their arrows. They cause it. So she took arrows she had no reason to have to, but because she was beholden to AJ because she's afraid of her job. What she didn't understand is she's a clerk. She's an appointed officer. AJ has no power to do anything with her. She's beyond even the board's purview. They can't fire her. They can only reappoint or appoint a new one when her term is up. That's it. They can't get rid of her unless they have her for cause. But if she is mandated by by state law in her job. So she's not supposed to do anything other than what the state law tells her to do. Unfortunately, the last one, I think she was just a little more afraid of her job. And so that's what I expect her to going to try and intimidate Miriam, who is, in my opinion, is a great clerk. And I really liked working with her when I was mayor. So, all right, is there anything else? Yeah.
Actually, not a question. This is my first time in this room. I'm only hearing about the issues tonight.
Okay.
I'm working here to put this whole picture together. So I want to tell you what I heard, and then you let me know if it's correct.
That would be great.
Okay. So I hear that there are some really big issues that are of concern to the folks, residents, and voters of Firestone. And yes, there's something about Central Park, but an initiative can take care of that, so don't worry about it. I heard you kind of
I
say.
wouldn't say don't worry about it, but that's one way we could
Okay.
solve it.
But the real issue is something about water. And that something about water is so real because it has a deadline date of water stopping. But there's another issue, and that is not enough water to support the new developments, which is a problem because there could be a lawsuit. And that court answer or court finding
Right.
is really your evidence
Yes.
that the Firestone elected officials are hurting the residents of Firestone. Like you're using that to
It
say,
is, yes.
we're illustrating, this is what we're up against and we need help, so we need to do a recall so that we could get people who will care for our future-ish. Okay.
I'm going to, yeah. So we don't have, so we don't just have us nodding our heads because I want to respond to you verbally so it's on the recording.
Okay.
You have a darn good, accurate perspective of the situation. This is not, I'll get to one thing. This is not the end-all be-all of evidence. This is just, it just illustrates, it's the most concrete, it's the most third-party, non-biased evidence of any other thing. That's why I keep pointing to it. But, you know, I want to point out that, I forgot, what's your name again?
Chris.
Chris, can you just stand up for just a second? I'm not going to put you on the spot, really, I promise. Just want to have your face. Understand that we have two different, we have the water, the town of Firestone provides water to those new residents, okay? Sanitation district, which is who Chris is with, is all of our provider of our, they handle our waste. All of our water, all of our sewage goes there. We have the one party suing the other party. How is that in any of us' best interest? How is that going to be a win for us in any way? You know, if one wins, the other loses. And then we have the cost on top of that. Now, sanitation district doesn't just do Firestone, they do the entire Carbon Valley and beyond. They have areas beyond that. I like to call it, they have southwestern Weld County. And so their impact is again, just like when you read this case, they talk about the impact being beyond Firestone. She does, the judge. And that's the case when it comes to the sanitation district in its lawsuit. That the town's trying to take the land from the sanitation district so that they can put freshwater wells on it, which the sanitation doesn't want to happen for a couple reasons. One, it's their land, they want to be able to expand, but also the EPA. And the EPA is a political animal. And so it goes by the whim of whoever is in power. And at the moment, it's Trump, right? And I'm not putting anything out there about plus minus Trump. It's Trump. Before that, it was Biden. Before that, it was Trump. Before that, it was Obama. And each time, it becomes more of a problem for the sanitation district because these rules keep piling up. And so they're never caught up. They're always behind in meeting these regulations that are coming out from the EPA. So why are they opposing all this? Because they know what's coming down the pike. They know. And so they know that fresh water is going to make it more difficult for them to provide sanitation services for the future of this community. So that's the lose-lose for us. So it's not a win-win, it's not a win-lose, it's a lose-lose for us. Because if they can't expand that plant, You think your water bill's expensive? Our sanitation bill's gonna go right through the frickin' roof, because they gotta now find a new place, buy new land, and guess what? That property is probably not downhill. You want your sewer to run downhill, and that's where it runs now, downhill. But if they have to find a new plot of land, they're gonna have to put in pumps to pump the water up to wherever that plant's gonna be. And you think your water rates, or your sewer rates are expensive? They're not actually, but our sewer plant water rates are pretty darn good. But they won't be pretty darn good if this has to happen. That's the problem. The town actually has alternatives. Chris can't say it because he's here as a citizen. But I can tell you, they have on their website, there are alternatives to putting wells anywhere else but on their property. The wells don't have to go on their property. That's just where the town wants to put them. Why? Because the property is right next door to our water treatment plant. That's why they want to put in there. The fact is, there's plenty of places we could drill wells, but it would require us to run pipes long distances to get that water to that water treatment plant. So that's why I wanted to add on to that, so that give you a little, but you did an excellent job of summarizing, you really did. So thank you for that. Okay, I don't think I'm gonna need to talk to you more about this, do we?
One more question.
Okay,
Regarding the circulation period, if I heard you correctly, that 60 days will run out of time because we'll run into the 6-month problem of the end of the period in which we could do that. So you want to collect signatures in 2 weeks, and your idea is we should all get somebody else from Firestone and come back to this room at a near future date so that we could collect our packages and
Yes.
take them somewhere and
take
get
them,
them signatures.
take them to your neighbors. We don't
So
care.
what, go door to door in our neighborhood?
Yeah, get as many as you are willing to get. Okay, if
Can you go outside King Soopers?
we actually can do that. You can do those kinds of things. And one of the best places is right outside the post office. Firestone does have a post office. A lot of people don't know that. But we do have a post office. It's about as big as a postage stamp. But we do have one. And it does not, it's so small it doesn't even deliver mail. It only has post office boxes. So people in Old Town, we have a few Old Towners in here, and they have to go to the mailbox to get their mail. But it's a great place because everybody in the Old Town for sure, and beyond, go to that post office for post office business. So you got about 700 homes roughly that I think, I may be wrong on that number, so don't get too, but there's a number of homes down there. There's just 1 second, I'll get to you, Chris. That we can get signatures that can sit right outside the post office.
There was somebody in front of King Soopers this morning.
What's that?
There was somebody in front of King Soopers this morning doing a petition.
Oh, okay.
A different one.
Yeah, so but if you're only able to, like I'm disabled. I'm not gonna be walking anywhere. That's not gonna happen. Last time I sat my butt in front of that post office and I got to know everybody in Old Town. But I just don't know if I have it in me this time. But I will go around and hit my local neighbors. There's 10 or 15 of us that I can get 10 or 15. That's 10 or 15 closer. So even if you only can get just your house and your neighbors, that's perfectly fine. Just because you can't get 100, that's not a reason to not gather signatures. Okay, now Chris, and I'll come back to you in a minute.
One of the pitfalls to the post office, especially in the last 3 years, is there's a lot of people that go to that post office that are not residents of Firestone and have P.O. boxes there. So if you're collecting signatures there, you have to verify they are residents of Firestone and that they're authorized to sign that form.
And we will, I will go there in just a second. That's a great point. We will, when we get together this next time and pass out the petitions for the drive, we will show you how to verify. It's really simple. You can do it on your phone. You just verify the name and address of, and I think the last 4 of their social security number. something like that. And then it'll tell you whether they're a Firestone resident or a registered voter in Firestone or not. And if they're not, but they are a resident of Firestone, it takes like 30 seconds more to register them. And as soon as you register them, they can sign a petition. So even if they live in Firestone but aren't registered to vote, you can register them right there, and they can sign the petition right there. So it's really a good, simple thing. Thanks for that. Back here?
Yeah, sorry I was late. You may have already covered this, but how many signatures are needed or required for this?
We do not have the official number, but it's 25% of the total number of votes for a particular office. So let me give you the hardest one. The mayor's easy. There was two candidates, myself and the current mayor. Total those two together, 25% of that vote is what you need to recall the mayor. Okay? The trustees, it's a little bit different math. Because there are 3 open seats, and there were 6 candidates. So you add up all the votes for all 6 candidates.
There was 9 candidates.
Oh, 9 candidates. All 9 candidates, then you divide by 3. And that's
And then you take a quarter of that.
and a quarter of that. But that just gives you an idea of what the number is. The official number comes from the clerk. What number is that? Around 550 signatures is what we need. Sounds like a lot, but it really doesn't have to be a lot. I can tell you right here, we got close to 100 signatures right here. Yes.
2 registered spouses is 2 votes. Right.
Yes.
It's not like 1 per house.
No, it's every registered voter does not matter if you reside in the same house or not. So each person in a house.
They're registered.
So, and then there was somebody over here, yes.
Yeah, I just have a remark, I've done initiatives before, and there's 2 responsibilities. The responsibility of the petitioner and the person signing a petition. Take your time, print legibly, and the man with, or the person with the petition, you have to make sure they fill everything out, because they will use any excuse in the world to disqualify you.
Especially, you have experienced that, that's great, because that's exactly what we experienced. They will find a reason to not allow a particular, I actually had somebody skip a line. And she was like, well, all those signatures after that line was skipped is invalid. Then she tried to say, well, once somebody skipped a line, signed on the next one, and somebody came back and signed in on that line with a different date, because of course they signed it the next day. And she said, oh no, and she tried to, well, that didn't fly, she lost on it. But they will try that, right? And we did, one of the things, we are using legal size paper. We also are giving them a lot more room. And this is, our clerk asked for this. Give her more of the box, a bigger box for the people to write legibly in. That was one of the first things she asked for, and we did that. So it only holds like 20 signatures on a legal size piece of paper page, but you know, it was enough so it makes sure, because I don't write very well, because I'm left-handed, I'm disabled left-handed. So I have to be very careful. So yeah, I understood what she was talking about. It would be very difficult to read my signature and my information in a little box. It would be too much. Yes.
I think this will be more relevant in the next meeting, but what will the pitch be? Like, if I'm standing somewhere, what will I say to those people passing by?
That is an extremely important point, that we definitely do not have that piece of paper yet right now. It's obviously in like my brain and Scott's, Bobby's, it's in our brain. We need to get that in a form that's not only complete, but is concise and comprehensible.
Easy to communicate.
Somebody walking.
Short and to the point. Yes.
You say aye. You say aye.
Use ChatGPT.
Oh,
Yeah.
So like,
Your ideas.
put it in there and it'll tell
I do have that, sorry.
I'm also making a suggestion. In the past, when we've signed petitions, some of them were to help you out. I don't remember exactly what it was, but they had meeting points. So, for example, like Harney Park, so then people knew after work they could drive there and somebody would be there just to take the signature.
Yes, I think that's a great idea. We did do that in the last petition, drive. Bobby?
As soon as we get the petitions certified by the clerk, we'll have bullet points for everybody, instructions that go along with the petitions. And if they want more information about the documents that I furnished on Nextdoor and that, all you have to do is contact me on Nextdoor, message me, and I will repost a link to those. So that, if they have serious questions, but we'll have bullet points on things like the water, what they've done with the water. I don't know if you know about the latest about Central Park. Wednesday night, they're signing a contract with a Card Associates Athletics, a soccer league out of Florida, to build a 5,000 seat soccer stadium in Central Park, a 200,000 square foot field house, and hospitality and other commercial things. None of this is, we can't vote on any of it. They started the Downtown Development Authority, and that authority can lease the land. And they also have access to tax increment financing to do that.
So
That's Central Park.
That is what, that beautiful piece of property that we know as Central Park.
I don't see
This
a
is
park
their
there.
idea of what Central Park is going to look like when they're done. They want to put this soccer stadium in. They want 6,000 parking spaces. 6,000 parking spaces. I live in St. Vrain Ranch. I live right here. The last thing I want is that many cars coming and going on the weekend or wherever. That's not what we did. This is not what we envisioned for our park. Now, we always had a plan, all of us had a vision of what we expected Central Park was going to be. And we certainly have been very lax in getting anything done, but better nothing than this monstrosity. Now, notice the buildings. A lot of those buildings, they sure don't look like park type stuff, do they? Looks like apartments and stuff to me. Can't do that with Central Park. Can't do that. The law is very clear about the use for Central Park, for any park. They just can't. That's why they're trying to get around it with this lease idea. But the answer to that is, and it wouldn't take us any time at all to get a petition together. I actually have already drawn one up through ChatGPT, as a matter of fact. I actually have, but just to see what it would look like and all that. And we could, if we wanted to, change the law that says you cannot lease any municipal property more than 5 years without a vote of the people. Now, you want short-term lease, like our senior center. That's leased. I think they have like a 3-year, 5-year lease or something like that on that. Yeah, we like that, right? That's the kind of stuff we want. And we don't need to have a vote of the people for something like that. But we don't want somebody deciding they want to put a hotel in here, and the way they're going to get around it is give them a 99-year lease and build a hotel right here. Who wants a hotel on Central Park?
That's exactly what they're going to do, Drew, if we don't get them out of there.
That's right.
And it'll be administrated by us.
Yes.
Is there any way, I know this is pretty short notice, between now and Wednesday, to stop them from committing the city or the town to this, whatever it is?
Well, that is a challenge. There are two different kinds of legislations. One is an ordinance. And ordinances absolutely can be repealed, similar to an initiative. It has a little bit higher threshold of signatures. You need 10%. So you need 200 instead of 100. But that's to repeal an ordinance.
This is a resolution, and it's, let's see what a scope of project. But it's gonna cost us $250,000 for them to come in, and it's scope of project, and they have a year. But sure,
So-
they'll sign it because they'll pass it because
So-
they've been told to.
Just so you know why I know so much about what's going on here. When I was mayor, the board, AJ met this guy at a conference in San Diego. And he had a company called P3. And he was going to be, as far as AJ was concerned, this guy was the bee's knees of park development. He knew it all. He was the end-all, be-all. The board signed a contract with them for $380,000 with that guy. I used to be a consultant. $380,000 is way too much money for what he wanted to do. $50,000 to $100,000 max is what it would cost to have what this guy was promising to do. I vetoed the legislation. I vetoed the ordinance. I vetoed it for two reasons. One, I didn't believe it was compatible with what we wanted for our park, what he had planned. And two, we didn't follow the state's rules, statute, and the town's policy on purchasing, on procurement. By law, in Firestone, you have to do competitive bid. All contracts are competitive bid. Now, below 50,000, it's a little bit, there's not as much stringency, there's not as much rigidity to that process. But above 50,000, oh, you're supposed to go through an RFP process, get all these bids, do all the stuff you're supposed to do. They did none of it. They sole sourced it to him. I pointed that out in my veto, that was the case. Even referenced the actual, our procurement policy. Said, we violated this. The board overturned me anyways. These people that we are wanting to recall right now are the ones that decided, oh, we don't have to follow our own policy. They all voted on that policy. Every single one of them voted on that policy, and they all voted for it. I signed it. And then they turned right around and violated what they just voted on. Yes, Chris?
Drew, I just want to comment real quick on the level of disrespect that they have for the voters. One of the council people or one of the board members has openly called anyone involved in this as a bunch of cronies. That means they don't care what your feelings are. It was posted in public. I know you witnessed the posting on Nextdoor where Frank told me that addressing me, that you and the bunch of cronies that you have don't know what you're talking about. So as far as he's concerned, they don't feel the voters have a right to say anything, evidently. We don't have a right to try to recall them. We don't have a right to voice our opinion. We're just a bunch of cronies.
So understand, this is the idea of, just to let you know where this came from. Frank Jimenez, our Mayor Pro Tem, and AJ Krieger flew down to Florida and met with this company and these groups. And that's where this came from. They've never sold it to us. They never came to us as the residents of Firestone and said, what do you think of this great idea? Do you think it's a good idea? No, they never came to us and asked that. They didn't get our approval. Now, understand, we all saw and we all got a opinion, whatever that survey. We all got it, filled it out. None of this was even in the top 5 things that we the people wanted. None of it. But there it is. Now, if you go out to Central Park right now, there are these beautiful signs that were put up by P3. Big, huge wooden signs. Try and go to the URL on that sign. It doesn't work. Why? Because the company didn't fulfill its obligations to the town, and AJ spent all that money on a consultant that did nothing. The very reason why you do competitive bid and why I vetoed it is the exact thing that happened. And what are they doing now? The exact same thing again, except it's not P3, it's somebody else. But exactly the same thing, expecting different results. We have spent so much money over the last 8 years on surveys and all these things, and yet they do nothing with that information. They go along and they come up with garbage like this. And they say, this is what you want. Because Frank Kamenis and Don Cognac and the rest of them think that we are smarter than all of you. This is what you really want.
This is the reason, right here, this is the reason that they formed the Downtown Development Authority. So they could do this. And if you're wondering what that little brown square over there in the lower right-hand corner, that's oil well. So that's not a park.
Yeah, that's oil. The over time, Occidental and the other oil companies that had oil wells on Central Park have been shutting the wells down and shutting them in, they call it. So they've consolidated everything into that well field over there. And they now do horizontal drilling instead of vertical drilling. Now, problem with this, where's the wells? You can't build on top of a well. Even if it's shut in, you can't build on top of the well. Well, this whole property used to be wells. Where are the wells? I don't see them. Are these buildings on top of wells? Now, you'll notice there's a big red dashed orange line going north and south in the middle of the park. Just so you know, that's a very important thing for the entire country. That's the connection between Cheyenne Mountain and the Canadian version of Cheyenne Mountain. That's the fiber connection. It goes right through our park. It goes right through our park. Do you think the federal government's going to want us to do anything about messing with that? I doubt it. Can you imagine if we did cut that somehow?
That'd be great if they did.
Is that not a reason to stop this?
What's that?
Isn't that not a reason to stop this? To call someone's attentions to
You would think so.
where are the oil wells, here's the fiber lines.
Yeah.
What, I mean,
That,
you
and that.
gotta stop
well,
this. There's gotta be a way for
Is there a
us to
second
stop
slide?
this.
There is, they do recognize that there are wells, and there's these spots all over the place.
Is that with the little red, the yellow dot?
Yeah, that's what those are.
So they're not under buildings, they're under parking.
But you know, one of the things is that there's setbacks. You can't, just because you can't build, not only can you not build on top of the well, you have a certain setback. It depends on, I don't know what it is for a shut-in well, but it's not trivial. So I don't know if they have even really thought about that. But it doesn't matter. Bottom line is, I'm going to stop talking because I'd like to get Scott kind of, because only reason I want to make sure, Scott he's leading the recall effort. He's the leader of the committee. That's Scott. And yes.
So, and I don't know if you're gonna go into it, Scott, or maybe you can answer this when you're going through. Is there like a strategy of how this might work, given that we've got to go to make this decision to either extend or change the election next year to November versus April, or do we vote this in and then we vote in April to vote them out should this recall be delayed? Is that part of your strategy of how we're gonna do this?
The strategy that we're working on is just to get this done and get them out.
So that would be like a second plan or plan B, is making sure that the election doesn't change from April.
Yes.
And that's really the vote of the trustees.
So that's one thing that we've got to work on with the
Let me
the
get to
voters.
completely separate, it's just, now I'm gonna give you Drew's opinion on something that is just that. This is nothing about, anything to do with all that we've talked about. There is a logical reason why you have elections either in April or in November. There's pros and cons to both. The pros to keeping it in April is that all elections are dedicated to just the local issues. So people that are focused on and participating in our local elections, I'll get you, oh, hi. I would love to have you come up here in a minute. But that's why it's a good thing, because then people that do vote are voting based on what they know. The thing about going to November, the pro there is more people vote, because it's now a national election, or at least a statewide election. And that's okay, but then in my opinion, this is Drew's opinion now I have ignorant voters voting on issues.
Gets lost in the shuffle.
And is that really how we want? I mean, I'd rather every voter to be informed. So if I could get every voter in November to be informed and we have more voters, great. I would do it before that, but that's not how it works. So I'm more about having the local election in April. That's just that. So normally I would be oppose it just because of that reason. But I would have no problem if you said, no, I kind of like going to November and be like, hey, that's good.
I'm the same way as you. I like that for the fact that it stays local
Yeah.
and you get informed.
Do you mind coming up? Do you mind? And would you like to tell us who you are? Give her the microphone.
My name is Olivia Rail, and I'm 9 years old.
Olivia, what's your last name?
Rail.
Rail, and she's 9 years old. Go ahead.
And that brown part up there is me and my friend's sledding hill at winter, and me and my friends would really like if they don't flatten it down and turn it into a parking lot.
That, hey, you know what? Thank you for sharing. Seriously. And just so folks know, I know this young lady because she actually, she and her brother, would come to the board meetings and they would learn about how to do, how the government works. At 9, this was actually 8 and 7 years old. You can't hear me now?
Is that thing off or not?
No, this is what I should be using. Because this is for the camera. So basically, they used to come to the board meetings when I was a mayor. And I got the pleasure of meeting them. And I got the pleasure of recognizing them and had them come up. And so they're just fantastic. So I've been following them for about 3 years now, and their family. And they're homeschooled. And they know a lot about what's going on in this world in a way that I wish all kids could know. So thank you for coming and sharing with us. And I think that that's a great idea. By the way, that's exactly why that sledding hill was put there. For people like you. Okay, thank you. All right.
So I guess, does anybody have any questions first?
I live in Monarch Estates and I just need something clarified. As I recall, back then, it was like a little over 20 years ago, before the developer was approved, he had to provide the city with so much acre feet of water rights. Did that occur? Is that still occurring? Or what happened to those water rights?
Okay. What the town decided to do, because it became much more harder to get Colorado Big Thompson water, where we get our water from Colorado Big Thompson, we own the water, and it comes to us through Central Weld. But it got harder, so the town decided that they would sell the developers what they call native water credits. One native water credit is 1 acre feet of water. So they've sold, that I can verify, 382 acre feet of water to developers.
When?
When? Over the last 20 years, or from 2020 until now, or since AJ's been here. This is supposed to be come through the St. Vrain Water Authority through the plant. The plant pumps water out of the alluvial well field and sends it into town, you know. Then they pump their wastewater, their brine down the deep injection well. But when they pump out of the alluvial well field, they have to put the same amount of water back in the river to keep the levels of the river.
So we no longer own those water rights?
No, we still own all our Colorado Big Thompson water. We own those. But the only way we can get them is through Central Well, because we don't have a pipe that runs from there to here, from Carter Lake. But the new developments are supposed to be fed from St. Vrain Water Plant. But they don't have enough water to produce that, and they can't, so far they haven't been able to put that much water down their deep injection well. They have to get rid of the water. And then they have to put back the same amount of water they pump back into the river. And that's why they're buying up all the ditch water, is to use it to put back in the river to keep the water levels up in the river. That's how it's supposed to work.
And the agreement with Central
So this
Well.
development here, who's providing the water for it?
Well, right now, the only one, St. Vrain Ranch and is connected to the water treatment plant. And they are pumping water from the water treatment and blending it with Central Weld in St. Vrain Ranch and Sagebrush area. Central Weld has a master meter right on the corner. Central Weld, they have
There are 12.
5 or 6.
There are 12 whales. Master meters are 12.
Oh, there's 12.
According to the lawsuit.
But there's 12 the connection points where Central Well connects to Firestone's water system. Now, Firestone doesn't connect St. Vrain Ranch. Their water system in St. Vrain Ranch isn't connected to Cottonwood Hollows. They don't have a pipe in between there. That's still come off of Central Well. There's no pipe north of, I don't think north of Sable. There might be, but there's no pipe from the plant, the water plant on St. Vrain, from Sagebrush to historic Firestone. There's no pipe from the plant to our water tank. They've got a 1 million gallon water tank down there they put finished water in. Of course, it's 800 feet lower than that. They've already burned up one pump. So,
Oh, yeah, that's one
But-
of the brilliant things is, normally you put your water treatment plant, the treated water, not the potable water, you want that at the highest point in the geography. You want your sanitation at the lowest point. Well, we happen to get cheap land right next to the sanitation district. That's how we got the land. And they put this RO plant, this very expensive plant, down there, and it has a water tank, but the water tank is below all of our homes. It's literally downhill from us. So they have to pump the water up here rather than by gravity. Central Weld is done by gravity because Central Weld's treatment plant is uphill from us. So their stuff they don't pump. They just gravity feed it to us.
and for the foreseeable future, there's no way that water plant can furnish all of Firestone with water and all the new development with water. They build this, they've got to have Central Weld. If they don't have our water from Central Weld or Colorado Big Thompson water out of Carter Lake, that's not going to happen. You know, people worry about, are they going to, in 2028, are they going to saying, okay, you got no more water. I personally don't think that would, the state would step in, there's 20,000 of us. But I don't, you imagine what that looks like? If you have a state in this says, Central Wells, you gotta furnish this much, but no more than that. Firestone, you have to pay this or pay that. I wouldn't want that to happen. I don't want that. That's why we need to get rid of these guys and get people in there that's got a little more common sense and that don't follow somebody that's, as we said in the power line industry, is trying to sell you a bunch of blue sky. It's pretty to look at, but there's no substance to it.
How deep are those wells? And how many wells?
The alluvial well, 90 feet.
If they were to punch wells again on the land that they're fighting to get,
Yeah,
how many wells can they put in there?
I don't know.
I mean,
Chris, do you have?
I'll be honest, I don't know. I know the alluvial well field is 90 feet deep.
Their own engineering doesn't know.
I was just gonna say, I mean, you can only pump as much water as you're allowed. I don't care if you have 50 wells. You have a finite amount of water that you're allowed to have, because that's what water rights are.
Well, what they're doing is they're saying it's like free water. Because, no, listen to me for a minute. This is what they say. So they pumped out of the alluvial well field,
Yeah.
and then they put ditch water back in the river to raise it up. So it's like they're taking here and putting it there.
So the aquifer they're pumping out is seepage.
It's straight out,
of the
seepage from the
straight
river.
into the aquifer.
Seepage from the river. That's why they want to do it right by the river.
Because I used to live on a little farm right over here. You couldn't drink the water.
Yeah,
It was on a well.
That's why we have an RO plant.
yeah.
You could not drink it.
But
You can't
it's,
drink that water.
so far it's not working real well.
All right, well, this is why we wanted the recall to get rid of them. You've heard of what Frank has put online. For me, was in a meeting where he said that the citizens of Firestone elected me to make decisions for them. That's when I was done. I was like, that's not why you're elected. You seem to forget why you were elected. This is of the people, by the people. This is why we have a process that we can get rid of them. They had a shot. It's fine, let's give them a shot. You're never going to agree 100% with what people do. But they seem to be doing a lot of things behind closed doors. That last meeting, when Channel 7 was there, I went with a few people that were here to speak. They stopped public comment. You had to submit your questions first, which is why Trustee Holcomb said, this is not my answer to this question. This is the board's answer to this question, which violates our rights to address who govern us.
But they didn't even answer the questions.
Of course they didn't. They don't want an informed society. Makes it very difficult for politicians to do their job. Because that's all they do. Politicians are basically, they're going to tell you what's wrong with your life and who's to blame for it. That's why you should vote for me. Because I can fix your problem. They don't have a solution. But here we have just over and over and over a series of very, very bad decisions. And the fact that Central Weld came out on their website, I know that Firestone tries to spin this on social media alone because they won't talk to the press. It was only me and Bobby that talked to Channel 7. I believe Drew talked to Channel 9. So thank God. I even thank them for coming out. So I was like, I know Denver, big city, it's got you guys busy, but thanks for coming up and paying attention to what we're doing because, you know, we're in Colorado, we are small potatoes. But for us that live here, it is not small potatoes. We moved here on purpose and for certain reasons. We are on our 4th round of recall submitted to her. Like Drew said, hopefully this is the end. That this will get approved and we can start moving forward. From just everything I've seen online, just Nextdoor does great statistics on posts that I put out. I've had over 2,000 people read it, which is what we need. We need people reading it. You don't have to respond, don't have to comment. Lorna Morton and Frank Jimenez have started their campaign already to try and stay in office, which is fine. You expected that. I didn't expect this to be so difficult, but that's fine. It only tests our resolve. And we're here. I mean, there was this many people last time. So there's enough people that have had enough. And we're just exercising our rights. That's all we're doing.
So is that where we stay informed, by going to Nextdoor? That's where we'll.
That's the biggest one. Some of us are going on Facebook just to the Tri-Town, it's just an update. If people want to debate and argue and that sort of thing online, sure, I'm all for it. You want to. I know they've spun that all you have is social media. Well, yeah, because I don't own Channel 31 or 9, or I don't have a big media. But it is social media, and they use it. So there's nothing wrong with us using it to get citizens that we probably would never meet before, because everybody leads such busy lives.
So just so you know, when I was mayor, they actually tried to pass a policy, a town policy, that would restrict elected officials from communicating with the residents using social media. My answer to that was very simple to them, because they don't have the power they think they have. I said, you can come up with whatever policy you want. I'm not going to listen to it. I'm not going to follow it. I'm going to continue. I have a First Amendment right to speak, and I have a fiduciary responsibility as the mayor of this town to communicate with the citizens of this town. So you can do whatever you want, but it's not going to have it. And of course, they immediately stopped. They dropped it. But that was their attempt to stop Drew from communicating with the citizens. You know, I used to, back in the day, back in the early days, 2015, 2017, in that time frame, I used to put out a post after every board meeting of what happened in the board meeting. Now, it wasn't a minutes type of thing. It was just, you know, here's what kind of happened in the meeting. These are the topics I think that you'd find interesting. And here's what the board did. Then I would then have I would go down and I'd say, okay, now Drew's editorial, my opinion. And then so I always separated out what I was saying the board was doing from my own perspective on it, where I stood on the issues, whatever. And they didn't like it back then either. Let me tell you what, they didn't like that. But we do have an email address, if people have a way of writing this down. If not, I will post it again on Nextdoor and on Facebook. It is Firestone 2025 @gmail.com. So
And we'll put that up on Nextdoor and that sort of thing. We're pretty easy to find.
And why is that important? Because the next couple of days is going to be really fast and furious. We're hoping we'll get approved tomorrow, in which case we'll be reaching out to everybody going, hey, we need to get together to start this process. And so if you can just email that email address, or just message myself or Scott Franks, just message on Nextdoor and say, hey, you know, and then we'll make sure that we get the word out for everybody that we're going to meet, where we're going to meet. Yeah, I don't know if we can meet here or not, because, you know, this is a pretty popular room here, this room. So, but we'll find someplace where we can meet. Maybe the American Legion, if folks know where that is. You know, it's a nice place, and it's centrally located for the town, anyways. But we'll be cutting out to you, because as soon as it's approved, we got to go fast and furious. And again, if you can only get 10 signatures, that's fine. Get us whatever you can. Now, what we'll have to do is, you have to have the affidavit has to be notarized. So that's where it gets kind of fun, because obviously you need to sign that affidavit in front of a notary. So maybe we need to talk about how we might be able to arrange to have, maybe we can get some notary that would be willing to volunteer to be here and do that for us here. Not when I say here, I mean in a meeting. Great. If not, you know, the banks.
Library used to have a notary.
What's that?
Library.
Library. So does, I know for sure that the banks do. They all have notaries. And they don't, and if you're a member, they usually don't charge you for using their notaries, so.
I know this sounds silly, but the town, you can go into the town clerk.
And you can.
Great, it's a great idea.
Yes, you can get the town clerk to notarize your petition. Now, I'm going to tell you, I have no idea, well, I don't think I better not say that. Well, I'm just going to say, our town clerk really is a good person, and I've had great dealings with her. I just think she's in a horrible position that she's, the way that they organize this town with the town clerk reporting to the town manager, that's not, the clerk should be reporting to the mayor and the board. That's who they report to. That's who they work for. Not some bureaucrat that's trying to save his job. So you can imagine how that
Drew,
works.
we gotta,
Okay.
we only got this room for 5 more minutes.
But
So the petition's very easy. We will walk you through it. Everybody who is a licensed voter and lives in the city of Firestone can sign it. So if any of your children that are in your house that are of age to vote find this very important and they want to sign it, they're more than welcome to sign it. There are over 14,000 registered voters in this town. So there's plenty of people to talk to. We did want to plan up, like he said, by the post office, so we get everybody in Old Town. King Supers on the weekend. Everybody knows how busy that is. Everybody will be walking by. You can look up voter registration. That's public information. It's very easy to do. If they do need to register to vote and they are not registered and they are residents, don't sign them up yourself. No, they need to do it on their phone by themselves.
Yeah,
And
they
you
need
just
to-
need to see that, yeah, you are registered. Do not sign them up at all.
yeah, you can show them how to sign up to register to vote. You can show them where that is, where the site is, but they need to sign. You can't do it for them.
And we'll have the bullet points for you. We'll have stuff out there for you. The ordinances that gave them the right to do the Downtown Development Authority, where they own the plots. Like, there's 5 of them that own plots out there, 100 square feet.
How big?
They're 100 square feet each, I believe.
That was like, what, 2 months ago they did that?
Oh, they're moving fast.
Yeah, but I mean, they just did that.
And that's how they created their district, by buying those plots.
Well, the town sold it to them for, I believe,
$10.
was it $10? I thought it was 20, but for a very nominal fee.
With a quick claim
With
deed.
a quitclaim deed, but it's also written in there, as soon as they're no longer in office, they no longer own that property. Because of the Downtown Development Authority, you have to be an owner in order to sit on that board to make decisions. So right now, only they did. So ordinance, I believe it's 1061, is the one that gives them the right and shows exactly where they own it. It's marked out there with a pin. The pin number is 1957. The second one was all the members who are owners, which is those 5, had an election and voted 5-0 to move forward. Themselves.
With no voter input.
No, they did not need no voter input. Now, the law, they cited a law that says they are allowed to put at least 1 board member on a Downtown Development Authority. That is allowed by law. But nowhere in that law says, well, the sole people on there are the board and the mayor.
If we get rid of them before they let other people get.
If we get rid of them
in there,
before it all happens,
then there is no DDA.
There is no DDA. Oh, I should probably mention this, I didn't say this. I am here as a private citizen and not for any position that I hold with the town. This is my personal opinion.
Matt Holcomb is one of the board members. But I wanted to make sure that we call out that Matt Holcomb is in no way a part of any of this. He made it very clear he did not want to be a part of owning any property in this district, and he did not want to be on the board of this district. He did not support this in any way. He does not support anything that's been going on, but he's the one lone voice on the board, and there's not a darn thing he can do until we get like John Dansma and 2 other board members on that board. He's alone.
So if you guys are interested, once this recall goes through, like, we're going to need people to sit on that board. So if you've thought about it, now would be the time to really put it some thought, like, is this something that I really want to do?
So what
happens if this recall goes through and we don't have, somebody who's gonna get out and run, or, wants to be those two people? What are we gonna do to backfill this?
Okay, so the way it will work is the recall and the election for that replacement of that officer will happen on the same election. So what'll happen is that once the recall petitions are certified and the board sets the election, then the clerk will then send out a notification, solicitation for candidates for those officers. And signatures to do that, was it like 10, 12?
10.
10? Only takes 10 signatures to nominate yourself.
So we have 3 in this room for sure.
Well, I am, and I'm.
Well, I was counting
in
you.
November.
He's running in November, but yes.
So we would like to make sure that we don't water it down so much that we have so many people running. That's kind of what happened the last time with the 9 people running. We ended up with so many people, that's how they were able to squeak by and not get voted out. So we don't want that to happen. We'd like to keep it pretty tight if we can, but at the same time, I'm not going to tell somebody they can't run. I mean, come on. They have a right to run.
If you run,
Okay.
you already got it.
We do need to wrap this up. It is 7:30.
Yep.
If you guys want to see, I have the 4th version of the petition up here, just if you want curious what it looks like.
How will you communicate the next meeting date?
As far as a recall, we'll get to, how do you want to communicate the recall?
Go through next door.
Next door, all right.
Go through next door.
And-
If you need our names, come up here. We'll
and
give them to you
Tri-Town.
and you can find us.
And
So you can-
Tri-Town on Facebook.
Yep, Tri-Town on Facebook too.
Now we have the email address, you can always.
Firestone2025@gmail.com.